Bit of a modified version of the review this week. We're going to have to do it over the phone this week. Siebes, how are you?
I'm good, mate.
Now, the weekend, pretty crazy results in some of them. I'll touch on the first one, probably the craziest finish of the year. For 65 minutes, there was nothing doing. The Raiders and the Tigers. What do you take out of that game?
Well, it was quite strange, actually. I think, the Tigers definitely started throwing a little bit more attack at the Raiders towards the back end of the game, which is obvious. I mean, they scored those 3 tries, and it was basically in 3 consecutive sets. And then I think the 4th set was when the field goal came in. So, I mean, the Tigers can score points. A part of me thinks the Raiders might have shut up shop, though.
Yeah, I agree. However, it is concerning, though. They're the worst team of the year when they get a player in the bin. So it's obviously something that they have to look at, and they crumbled as soon as Tom Starling went to the bin, but it was lucky that they got away with it. They've won 8 out of 9, 1 win out of first.
It's crazy.
Are you putting them in pen for the 8?
No. No, not yet, but they're very, very deep lead pencil at the moment. I think they've come a long way, and mate, you nailed it earlier on in the year when you said there's a side there somewhere. They are playing some decent footy.
Corey Horsburgh is the one that impressed me the most. He's started in the back row the past 2 weeks. I just think now that Jai Arrow and Tom Gilbert are out, we will talk about Origin in depth a little bit later, but just on that one selection there, I think Corey Horsburgh's a real chance now.
Yeah, but he can't play on an edge at that level. I think, I don't think there's much of a future for him on an edge with Canberra, so he's got to get back into the middle, and if he gets picked for Queensland as a middle, 100% behind it. If he gets picked as a bloke who can play on an edge at Origin, he'll get exposed.
Don't you think he's more like Jai Arrow? And I think Felice Kafusi will come in the starting side for Tom Gilbert. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Mate, I think Kafusi's still another week or 2 away. I don't know if he'll serve his suspension in time.
Oh, jeez.
So
okay, so let's say Kafusi's out then. I thought Corey Horsburgh would be a better replacement for Jai Arrow, just in the fact that he is a middle but could play on an edge if needed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he could play there if needed. I think it brings Capewell back into calculations, even though I think he's past it and not quite up to that level anymore. The other one that may be a sneaky selection is Nanai. He did have a good game yesterday.
Yeah, that is really true, and he might just come straight in there and slot into that back row spot and can play 80, and we've seen him do it before at a high level in Game 3 last year, so that might be a good call. Just on the round to finish out, the Roosters got away with a win there, but they're in all sorts, man.
They are. It's a struggling Bulldogs. They've pushed them to the limit, and if it wasn't for, and again, Tedesco, I mean, criticise a champion at your own peril. Everyone sunk the boot into him. He scores a double, set up a couple, could have easily scored a third. So, I think we just got to be a little bit realistic when we're criticising champions, and that's what Teddy is. He's one of the best, and, it wouldn't shock me if he's man of the match in Game 2 for New South Wales. But you're right. The Roosters are struggling. I think, the Dogs scored a couple of easy tries early. I never felt comfortable that the Dogs were going to win, but they certainly pushed them to the end.
Isn't it crazy, though, that Teddy had a 10 out of 10 game, involved in everything, absolutely brilliant, and they just won against the Bulldogs? Like, that shows you what the rest of the team's made up of. And There's one team all year that hasn't scored 30 points yet. So we've played, what is that, round 14, the Roosters haven't scored 30 points in a single game.
Are you serious? No, that's a good stat, considering, we expected them to be, one of the best teams, but also we expected some attacking flair with some of the players that they've got.
Yeah, they've got the worst attack in the comp by a country mile. It's not even close. So,
speaking of terrible attack, do we want to talk about the Storm, or are we letting that one go through to the keeper?
No, we can absolutely talk about it. That was that's 2 years in a row now. They've gone to Townsville and just gotten blown away. I don't really know what to make of that one. They come off a bye. You'd think that they'd be refreshed, but they went to water.
They were rubbish. They were because the Cowboys were pretty good. I wouldn't say the Cowboys were unbelievable. They were good, but the Storm looked so flat, and their attack was woeful.
I got asked by someone yesterday, a mate of mine, do they make any changes? I'm not sure there's any changes to be made. I think it's just they got belted.
Yeah, and I don't know if they do have much else anyway to pick from. They'll come good. They're a good footy side, and they've got enough good players there to make their charge late in the year. But the problem with them is depth. I think they're at their limit at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Then they just don't have those. Like, some of the younger guys are doing a really good job, but usually they've got a veteran or two that comes off the bench playing reserve grade, that sort of role that can easily float in and out of the team, but they just don't have that at the moment. So,
well, I thought it'd be Tarek Sims, to be honest, and he's playing reserve grade.
Yeah, he is. He might push his way back into that side the way they played on the weekend, but we'll have to see how that goes. Just to finish off the weekend, anything that caught your mind? We had the Broncos getting a really good win against the Sharks. The Sharks blew a lot of chances, but at the end of the day, the Broncos were good enough to keep them out.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the Broncos scrambled well. The Sharks probably had 5 extra opportunities to score points. I'm going to say 3 of them were Broncos defending well and scrapping and making life tough. 2 of them were just bomb tries, nothing more.
Yeah, there was the 2 plays by Ronaldo Mulitalo that just perfectly sums up the Sharks this year, and that was the amazing deflection he did when I think it was their right side winger, was that Jesse Arthurs. So Ronaldo went back and swatted the ball away, just perfect timing and a try saver, absolutely. And then there was the other one where he dropped himself, and you're just like, man.
Well, yeah. The other one, the glaring one, was when Kennedy was wide open early on, and they just found a way to box that as well. I mean, there was a few things there which the Sharks will look back at.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we're going to do our top 5 halfbacks, and then we'll get into a State of Origin wrap and bit of a talk about Game 2. So we'll start with the obvious and number 1. So I've got Cleary.
Yeah, Cleary's the number 1. He's the clear best halfback in the comp. I think Penrith have got enough points in the bank to cover that injury of his for the next month, 6 weeks, depending on how long he's out. But if he's out for any longer than that, then things might get a little bit tough for him. I suppose the silver lining for Ivan Cleary is that he gets to really freshen up Nathan, who basically played 32 games last year, then went on a kangaroo tour, come back straight back into it. So blessing in disguise is a bit of a rest there for him.
Well, it is a bit similar to last year. He got that. Was it last year he got that 5-week suspension towards the end of the year?
Was that the year before?
It was one of them, but they're on top of the ladder, so they don't need to. They're not struggling to make the 8 or anything. They can take their time, and they can win from 4th spot, Penrith.
Oh, that's right. And look, honestly, I haven't really looked deeply into their next few games, but I'd say that they'll still win 2 or 3 of them anyway, just based on the other players that they've got.
Yeah, well, they've got the Roosters this week, who they should just be able to grind out. Seriously, the way they're going, that should just be a grinder.
Yeah, and then the Cowboys-Panthers game, well, both teams are going to be, missing a host of players, and Cleary wouldn't have played that game anyway, so, that's not going to be a big one for them. And then after that, I think that they might have a bye. So, it's not going to be dire straits for them.
No, absolutely not. So, and with the top 5 halfbacks, Cleary's a number 1, but there are 5 guys who I think you can put in any order from 2 to 6. So, who do you have at 2?
At 2, at the moment, I've got Mitch Moses, and again, it's the para bias. We'll call it what it is, but he took a team to a grand final last year. He had a couple of off games at the start of the year, but he's really turned the corner the last month, and he's been playing some good footy. And I think, I think he's the second best half going around. We
won't mention the war, but Dylan Brown obviously in some doubt going forward. He's going to have to really lift now, isn't he?
That's right. I mean, I don't know if Brown will get stood down at this stage. But regardless,
it's not in the automatic stood down range. It's just a matter of looks now, I think.
Yeah, that's right. I think. Although I don't know. Best we probably don't comment on it.
Yep, absolutely. So, Mitch Moses, he's in my 5, but he's not my number 2. I've got Daly at 2, purely just for Origin. He is so good, Daly Cherry Evans, and I think
he is, mate. He's been in good form for Manly too.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that when it's all said and done, Daly will go. And I spoke to Josh Hannay about this the other day. I think Daly will go down as one of the most underrated Origin players that Queensland have had, purely because he's come off this era of Thurston, Cronk, Lockyer. And he's been expected to sort of take this team along, and certainly not with the talent that those teams had, but he does a magnificent job.
He does, mate. And take, I don't know whether you agree or disagree, but in my mind, he's a better Origin player than Cronk was. He's done more. Like Cronk's, he had those big field goals and won a couple of games for us like that. But over the last since the COVID year, Cherry Evans has been outstanding. He was captain of the worst team in Origin history and found a way for us to win, and he just keeps doing it year after year. So I think Cherry Evans is great.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 3, I've got Nico.
Okay, I've got Cherry Evans as number 3.
Yeah, okay. So Nico, and like I said, anyone from 2 to 6, I wouldn't have an argument with going in the top 5. But I just think Nico's journey has been really remarkable to be able to go to the Sharks, play halfback. He didn't play much halfback, if any, at Melbourne, and really dominate from there. I will say it'll be interesting to see if he does get picked at halfback for the Blues. You would suspect it would probably be the case. Obviously, the temptation might be there to blow it up and go with an old South pairing, but it'll be interesting to see if he does get his crack. He obviously only played 10 minutes the other night and didn't do a great job in those 10 minutes, but certainly a tough ask for him. But I think his form over the last 18 months is good enough to put him at 3.
So are we going to be, am I going to be the Grinch and be the one that brings it up? Like Nico's poster boy, he's a freak in attack. He's one of the best attacking players in the comp, and he shows that week in, week out. But can the bloke tackle? What do you think, Tom?
Well, it certainly wasn't on display the other night if he can, but I will say neither was Cameron Murray and Nathan Cleary, who were standing right next to him. So
I agree. I think smarter blokes than me are sitting on coaching staff, and the second that he got on the field, Queensland essentially started running sideways to get to him. So they've spotted something with him that they're looking to attack, and I think I'll be interested to see whether he gets a start. I think they'll go with him, but it could be a watch this space.
Absolutely. I don't think it's a certainty at all that he starts. And it's interesting, isn't it, when you've got club coaches going into Origin. So for example, you've got Josh Hannay going into Queensland camp. How much of that was a play, and the big one, of course, is when Craig Bellamy coached New South Wales all those years ago. He was coaching basically against the Storm side. So
and he struggled. He really did.
Absolutely. So my number 4 is Mitch, for all the reasons you outlined earlier. Who you got at 4?
I've actually got Adam Reynolds at 4. I don't think it'd be a shock that I've got him there, but his kicking game and his match awareness and the way he steers the ship, it's elite, and it's exactly what you want out of an aging halfback.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam Reynolds is my 5, for all the reasons you just mentioned there. Who do you have at 5?
Well, Nico's my 5.
Okay, so the same top 5. The other, who would be your 6th? Let's see if we're on the same page here. Who would be your 6th?
I'll go first.
Yep.
Shaun Johnson.
Yep, Shaun Johnson is having a great year. The other guy who I thought of, and I just couldn't put him in there because his form last year absolutely warranted it, but not this year, and that is Jerome Hughes.
Oh yeah, definitely. Jerome Hughes is a good footballer. He's a very, very good footballer, but he's just not playing well. No,
but those other 5s, they're all great players, and good to see we're on the same page with a couple of these positions. A couple we're nowhere near each other, but that's all right. We'll keep going. So next week we've done front rowers, so back rowers next week I think we'll do.
So we're trying to do our locks.
We go locks. Yep, cool. All right, so we'll go on to Origin. Ruben Cotter. He's the guy I want to start with because neither of us had him in our teams. Probably a mistake.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, he played really well. He wasn't my man of the match. He wasn't in my top three, but he was outstanding.
Well, it's funny you mention that because I'm the same. Who was your man of the match?
Well, mine was actually Munster.
It had to be. I can't believe, and this is what I've written about in the paper this week, I can't believe Munster was not the man of the match in game one. He set up 3 tries and scored the 4th.
Exactly. And it was moments. It was big moments where he took the game away from New South Wales. He did it 2 or 3 times. It was just so bizarre. Do you reckon he's got to Cameron Smith territory as far as they are hesitant to give him man of the matches because we don't want to have someone have more than Wally?
Yes, and that's why I think he's a front runner to be man of the series, because I think man of the series you can do that. You can give it to the guns. But yes, I do think that they are looking for an excuse not to give him man of the match because, and this is what I wrote about this week, so a bit of a spoiler alert, but I regard Wayne Bennett's greatest accomplishment out of all the things he's done as winning that 2020 series. I think that was phenomenal. I looked up the team today. There are 7 guys there who aren't playing in the NRL anymore, and I think only one of them is retired. So there are guys there littered in that team that just had no right to be there, just purely through depth issues and injuries at the time. So for him to be able to win that series was remarkable. Now, if you look at Cameron Munster, he was man of the series that series, and he got knocked out in game 2, but the other 2 games he was obviously brilliant and got Queensland the wins.
Yeah.
He is now, to me, at that Jonathan Thurston level. Like he's almost, I think he'll go down as a better player than Jonathan Thurston, particularly in Origin. And,
I agree, mate. And for mine, he's on that second rung, only behind Lockyer, Smith, and Lewis.
Yep, he's right there, and it's his case is only being added by the fact that New South Wales start favourite every year and Queensland win, and that.
I don't know why we start favourites. Honestly, you look at. Sorry, I don't know why we don't start favourites. You look at the sides on paper, and there's a struck match between them every single year. I think we said in our chat last week. You put the 2 teams, if both teams play as best they can, New South Wales probably win, but that was before, Latrell's gone. Because you add Latrell in and it's slightly tighter, things change. It was pretty evident that the New South Wales guys, especially that left edge, they'd obviously trained with someone else for the last week of their lives because it was the amount of balls that didn't quite hit the mark or went to ground and the timing was just a bit off. It was really evident, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, and if you just take that play where Munster set up the hammer down the left-hand side, the one to take the lead, so you're down to 12. You should never be able to get around a team when you're down to 12. You should never be able to spread the ball and overlap a team, if you know what I mean. So
that's right.
So if you look at that, he's fended off Cameron Murray, Nicho Hines, and Nathan Cleary, 3 club captains. 3 guys that are marquees of their own clubs and 3 important players for New South Wales. And he's just fended them off and given the hammer half a metre. And that was enough to burn the fox. And that, to me, is just... He just doesn't care if he doesn't come up with the play because he knows that in the history of the game, the greatest players have made mistakes.
That's right.
But his ability to back himself because he knows his ability.
He does. He backs himself. And he's had, I would argue, 6 or 7 of those moments already in his Origin career.
No doubt.
Absolutely brilliant things at the most important time in the game, and they've come off for him.
And it started with his debut. He had one of the greatest debuts in the history of State of Origin.
Yeah, and my brother was on that part of that team, and he told me that Cameron had the worst week of training in the history of rugby league. he couldn't catch a cold. Everything he did, he was throwing forward passes, dropping everything that come his way. He was just so perfect. And then he went out and put that performance in.
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable. Let's just talk about changes. We did touch on it before. So who are we missing? We're missing Tom Gilbert, Jai Arrow. Let's assume Felice can't come back.
Yeah, I think
apart from Capewell, is there any other back rows that you'd go with? Nanai.
I would go Nanai first, but I think they'll go Capewell.
Yep. It would help if the Cowboys put together a strong performance again this weekend. That would obviously help Jeremiah Nanai. I do think that, well, I know that the Queensland coaches love Kurt Capewell's ability to play centre as well, and that probably would have been handy the other night, the way the injuries fell for Queensland, because they don't really have any outside back cover on the bench. Like Ben Hunt was playing centre at one stage.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, I was surprised they didn't put Fafita out there, to be honest.
Yep.
I think, I reckon he can cover there at a pinch, but we need a specialist second rower that comes in and Capewell or Nanai are going to be. It's going to be one of those two guys, I think, and then Horsburgh. He'll come in for. Well, you would assume he'll come in for Gilbert.
Yeah, it's really sad to see Tom Gilbert out for the series. He's becoming just a bit of an icon for Queensland. I don't know like a cult hero for Queensland. He's a great player.
He does. Is that only his second game as well?
Yes, because he debuted in Game 3 last year.
Yeah, and he's got that healthy splash of lunatic in him, hasn't he?
He reminds me of Luke O'Donnell.
Yeah. I don't know if his eyes roll back and his head is bad as
Yeah, psycho Luke O'Donnell.
I suppose just we don't really have a great deal of other options in the back row, though, do we? Not many.
I think Helam Lukey's a Queensland. So I think the Cowboys have Helam Lukey and Jeremiah Nanai, and I know that Helam probably hasn't played as much footy as you'd want behind him, but it's certainly exciting.
Yeah, true. I'm not too sure. I don't know how sold I am on Lukey yet, apart from him being a monster.
Oh, certainly Nanai's ahead.
Yeah, agree.
And we move on to New South Wales. So Latrell has to come back. How do you fit the back five?
Well, Crichton was really good. He was really, really good. But Latrell comes straight back in as left centre. It's as simple as that. He's got to be there. Addo Carr had a stormer yesterday, which helps his cause. But I don't know if he was involved enough in Origin 1. So, again, I don't think they're going to drop him. But, I don't think he's a lay down to get picked for Origin 2. And, again, Turbo, they're going to pick him. I put that in the Tedesco basket. It'd be bizarre to not pick him. So someone who's been there, he's done it multiple times. I think they pick him. And then it comes down to the halves, and it's whether you go Luai and Nico, or you bring in an Adam Reynolds or a Mitch Moses. So I don't think they bring in Reynolds, because they had the opportunity to bring in Reynolds last year, I think it was, and they overlooked him and brought in Moses.
I do get that. I do get that, but the fact you're coming off a loss, you look at Cody and Reynolds, and I am actually more scared of a Reynolds, Walker, Cook combo with Appy off the bench. I'm more scared of that as a Queenslander.
I'm not. Cook scares me, and I would sit there and I reckon half the Queensland side would be rubbing their hands together thinking, how good is that? Cody Walker's there. Let's just get under his 5 minutes and watch him unravel.
I get that. I totally get that. But it's the...
So in big games.
It's the fact that Latrell's back as a combination of that.
Yeah.
What did you think of Teddy in game one?
I thought Teddy was poor.
Yeah.
But he tried his guts out.
Oh, of course. The effort will never be questioned.
And, I'm comparing Teddy to normal Teddy. I'd give Teddy a 6 out of 10 for last week, and that's compared to normal Teddy.
Yeah.
But compared to normal bloke, any other footballer, he was probably really good. He had his moments, he bombed a couple of tries, but apart from that, he probably wasn't as bad as we make out. It's just the fact that normal Teddy's got such a big benchmark.
And I get that. And I don't want to act like the Teddy puncher. I don't want to use him as a punching bag. But I thought he was really poor the other night. Like, I thought it was the worst game I've ever seen him play. And there were probably 5 moments that stuck out to me that were just like, oh, my God. And also the fact that I know he had a blinder on the weekend, so it makes me look like a stooge now. But the fact that I think he has lost something physically, and he might be injured, I don't know, but he's just lost something. He doesn't have the same, I'm going to say strength, for lack of a better word, and him and Munster have the exact same trait. They're just hard to tackle. Their hips must be extremely strong. He's just lost it, probably like 5%, but it's enough.
You do know who ran for the most metres of that game.
I get that. I get that.
I think he had 7 or 8 tackle breaks and 220 metres. That side of his game was good. It was the execution that was poor.
I get that. But defensively also, like the hammer broke his ankles 30 metres away.
I reckon he slipped over.
He might have slipped over. The Cobbo try, the
Cobbo one was bad, and the no pass to Adokar was bad.
Yep. And you can't get out jumped by Lindsay Collins.
No, you shouldn't. You should never get out jumped by Lindsay Collins. That's the 1 in a million. But yeah, look, I'm not saying that he wasn't himself and that those couple of moments weren't bad. But I'll put it this way, and I know that we've had a chat about it, and you're a Dylan Edwards fan, and you'd like to see him get a crack.
I'm a Teddy fan too.
But I can just guarantee you, there's no way on earth that he runs for 200 metres in an Origin. Not a chance. Dylan Edwards would not go close to that.
So I'll ask you this. I've got no doubt Teddy will be their game too, right? If they lose that.
They could lose the next 4 games. If they lose this series and next series, and he's terrible, that's when the conversation can start.
Yeah,
but he's got points in the bank.
And look, no doubt, he's one of the best players New South Wales have ever had. And I don't want to act like I'm trashing him because he's a phenomenal player. I just thought it was certainly to Queensland's benefit the other night, and it might just be a case of Queensland just had the perfect game plan and then that was it.
But and that's exactly right. I mean, they frustrated New South Wales out of it, and that was great. It was good to see them rattled. But the one thing, and I know Cleary being injured changes things again, but the one thing, and I think we spoke about this as well, in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, oh God, New South Wales were like really, for all intents and purposes, they were hopeless, and they nearly found a way to get it done. That's the one thing that I'm sitting there thinking we've got to be better.
Can I ask you about this? And this is one thing that you got an inkling from Billy in the press conference, and Josh basically confirmed it the other night. The license that the Queensland coaches give to Cherry Evans and Munster in particular to spread the ball in their own half is such a refreshing approach in Origin, and the fact that they do it so well, like it's an easy 20 metres if you can just spread it through the hands in your own 20. But they give them this license to use the ball in their own half. And do you think that that's I think it's a massive reason for their success?
Yeah, it makes a big difference. They again, Billy Slater's smart. He realises that he's not going to get good yardage metres out of Reece Walsh. Cobbo's not renowned for his yardage meters as well. So they're not going to come in and make a heap of yards for us from just straight off the ruck hit-ups. So they've got to use the footy, try and get to the edges and take an easy 15 opposed to a really tough 6 or 7.
For the forwards for New South Wales, did anyone warrant dropping, in your opinion?
I will be shocked if they go with Pangai Jr. again. I think what he did wasn't actually that bad as far as his effort and energy and his hit-ups. He strong carries. It was the penalties he gave away at really crucial times.
Yep.
And the New South Wales got back into the game, and I think they probably started to get on top of us a little bit. And remember, he threw that ridiculous offload out the back.
Yep.
And we grabbed the footy, and I don't think we lost possession for the next 10 minutes. And that block there set up the last 6 or 7 minutes where we, put them away.
Well, that's when he got hooked, when he threw that offload.
That's exactly right. And I just think, it'd be tough, to play one game, and because he didn't look like, there's been blokes in the past that play, and you watch it and you think, that he's just not up to it, or he's just not that type of player. He's not built to play Origin. Pangai Jr. didn't look like that. He looked like he fit right in, but it was just the discipline and the penalties and the silly float, I think, might cause him to get sputtered. And again, who knows what they do with their halves, but you can't have Nico Hines on the bench. It's got to be, Burton's got more utility value, or
I agree.
I play Damien Cook. I start him and Coruscant's on the bench.
Just to finish up with, the bench rotation for New South Wales was absolutely horrendous. In my opinion, Freddie's getting coached off a break here. It was evident a couple of years ago when Wayne took him to school, and now Billy's coached him off a break. This is not a good look for Freddie when you look at the bench rotations at the end, and Payne Haas played 31 minutes.
Yeah, he definitely. I don't know. I'm not that hard on him. I don't think.
They didn't have a plan for Nico Hines, man. Like they didn't have a plan for him. He was just there for injury.
They carried him there for injury. That's exactly right. I think where they got it wrong was, as I said, there's no way on earth he should have been on the bench over Cook, and Paulo and Haas didn't play enough minutes. But all those things aside, Freddie doesn't. He doesn't miss those one-on-one tackles on the field. He doesn't not pass it that Okara untouched. I think, it's easy to get stuck into him, and there's certainly things that he should have done better, and he's not great at. But fundamentally speaking, they look like they were a team that was prepared well enough. They didn't take their opportunities, and we did.
Fair enough, Seibs. Good to talk to you. By this time next week, we'll have Origin 2 teams out, so we'll break it down.